What's up everyone, Tuga here, back again with some more NHL 16 and my Boston Bruins GM mode, and in this episode, we sim through the rest of the offseason and begin Season 3. Now, I have 3 things I need to address. Number 1, and it was a comment on the last video talking about how I didn't really do anything for the draft. Simply put, I love recapping the draft. I love finding hidden gems in the draft. But here's the thing, there's nobody. There was flat out nobody in this draft. Last year, when we drafted Travis Barron, who I have highlighted, when we drafted Getson, I recapped everybody. Sean Day, it didn't matter. This year, there was nobody. There was one guy. That's Travis Raymond. He's a playmaker with bottom 6 forward potential. I'll touch up on him again in a second. He'll be of a lot more importance. But really everyone else is AHL guys. Gingras, Marchand, Zykov, and everyone else on our team that's been drafted are all projected to be AHL players that are honestly not going to stick around. Number 2, we have an interesting problem still with the players we have on this team and whether or not I want to get rid of certain people or not. But number 3 is most important. And full disclosure here, I try to be as open as I can in terms of what goes on with this little production here. I did this sim before. I had this episode like 2 minutes done from completion. I'm recapping how people have done so far through the first 2 months of the season, and my PC crashes. So I lose the audio, I lose some other stuff, I lose the voiceover, and I'm having to do this episode over again. But what I can tell you, and what I'm going to do right now, is sim up through the preseason. Simply put, when I first tried to do this sim, I couldn't trade anybody. No matter what I did, I could not trade anybody without being completely ripped off by these PC computer GMs. They just don't care at all. They will not budge a bit. Put it this way, I was looking at Kyle Palmieri for a third line right wing spot. They wouldn't take Koklachev straight up because flat out they don't want to trade him. It's almost impossible to get these computers to budge. So despite wanting to trade guys like Bodker, maybe trading Jason Demers, it's almost impossible without ripping the team off and without us getting ripped off, essentially. And it's extremely frustrating because obviously it makes this series much more difficult to do. I could lower the trade difficulty, but part of me doesn't exactly want to. But here's the thing, as we move in towards the preseason, it'll kick off, I think, around the 20th. I'll actually get ready to stop this sim, and hopefully it brings us right to the preseason. There we go, it popped. Here's the thing, when I did this the first time, we made a gigantic trade, we made a gigantic decision, because we discovered certain people and their potentials can change, particularly Malcolm Subban. I'm going to see if it happened again. If it didn't, that kind of sucks. But let's see what happened. And yes, it happened again. Malcolm Subban, who was an elite prediction, has moved up to franchise and is an 86 overall. Now, in my sim, I ended up keeping him and Rask and kind of running platoon role. Both guys kind of struggled. And the reason is, everyone on the team immediately dropped. I did a trade sending Jason Demers, Radim Vrbata, and Michael Bodker to Winnipeg for prospects and picks just to clear up space. That way we could go with Koklachev and Zarnik, which turned out to be a good decision. Zarnik was leading the team in points at the time that the crash happened. But overall, the team had a losing record. So I'm in a very tough spot. Here's an interesting thing though. Travis Raymond on the first time, of course he was a bottom 6 forward. The first time I simmed through this, he dropped to an AHL top 6. This time, he's gone up to a top 9 forward, which is actually right where you want him because he is a playmaker. So some very interesting changes here have happened. But in terms of Koklachev, he's an 81. He'd be better if his morale was up there. Zarnik's an 83. He might be an 84, truly. It's really tough to tell. So now I'm stuck in the same position I was before I even lost the footage that I had. And that's simply, what the hell do we do with this team? I truly do not know. And Fitzgerald is actually someone we drafted. He was an AHL guy. He's a grinder, now projected to be a bottom 6 forward, at least with low potential, so he might be worth keeping. So maybe I should have paid more attention to the draft, even though I did scout pretty much everybody top to bottom. I scouted each region and each position twice over, and still the draft results were that inconclusive. But the question is now, what the hell am I going to do? How are we going to put this team together? because with this morale system, it can cripple a team, particularly with the way I did it. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I have a second chance. If I trade Michael Bodker, Rask, Pasternak, Demers, and Miller all get pissed off, and that can have a huge impact on the team. It can drop Rask an overall point just by trading away Michael Bodker. So it is really tough to try and figure out what to do here and really how we want to set up this lineup. So again, we're going to roll with Rask and Subban. I want to see how both of them do until about American Thanksgiving is where I'm going to sim up to again. I want to see how both of them do. Subban's gone from a minor league starter to a backup to a starter role in half a season. It's insane, and now up, of course, to franchise potential. If we trade Tuukka Rask, he has nearly full trade value. We could acquire pretty much any player in the game that we wanted, potentially. Of course, the GMs wouldn't want to give him up, so we'd really have to overextend. He could be a hell of a bargaining piece, but it's not exactly ideal to trade away Malcolm Subban. We traded away Jason Demers so Linus Arneson could fit into the lineup. The team defensively kind of struggled a bit. We put Hamonic with Morrow, that wasn't really working. We put Shem with Arneson, that wasn't really working. I'm really hesitant now on who we should trade. Again, we trade Jason Demers, Tuukka Rask takes a big hit, Pasternak takes a big hit. It says Kevin Miller, but of course he is no longer on this team. So as much as I want to keep certain people on this team, like I don't exactly want to trade away Seth Griffith just yet. He's an 81 overall. If his morale was a bit higher, he'd be better. He's projected to be a second line forward already, which means he could be like an 85 overall if his morale system was fixed. I don't know how to because I was giving him second line time in the last sim and that didn't do a goddamn thing. He still complained. But in the meantime, since it is the preseason, I'm gonna try and figure out a line combination here and we'll see what it's looking like. So guys, here is the lineup we are going to roll with. I'm not sure if this is the right decision. It's not sticking to our original concept of, you know, top two lines being skill guys, third line being defensive shutdown guys, fourth line being physical guys. It doesn't stick to that at all. And honestly, every single time now through the first two seasons that we've tried to have this team just be all skill, it hasn't worked. It simply hasn't worked, and this lineup is leading towards that. But part of me just cannot get rid of Kovalchev or Zarnik, especially after seeing what they could do in that first sim. And as much now as I wish Barbada and Bodker weren't on this team, so we could call up two guys from the AHL to help fill those spots, because you'll see now, you know, Randall, Lier, Jake DeBrusk, Anton Bleed, this affects the entire franchise. This affects people now in the minors who are missing out on starting time because we have people in the NHL, or, you know, we have people in the AHL who should be in the NHL. On defense, again, it's incredibly solid. Hedman, Krug, Morrow, Hamonic, Demers now with Luke Shen instead of Linus Arneson. I'm not sure how well this is going to work. As we're going to take a look at the calendar here, as you can see, 89 offense, 92 defense, 94 goaltending. This team should just be lighting people up. This should be an NHL contender, but I have a strong feeling it's not going to be. We're going to sim through the preseason. There's flat out nothing we can do. Whether or not we win or lose might be a slight indication, as we've lost our first 3 games now. But I'm just sitting here trying to think of what's the right decision and what is the wrong decision, and really I'm going to base it off of how these first 2 months go. We'll look ahead here in the schedule once it gets us up to Toronto, and November 25th is going to be our stopping date. That's around the time American Thanksgiving would be. If you've watched any NHL games in the past week leading up to American Thanksgiving or after, you've heard about how important that day is statistically for teams making the playoffs. So we're going to see where we stand at that point. As always, I'll recap for you what the stats are looking like. I'll try to do that as quickly as possible and pose as many questions to you as I can. Again, I want to try and keep this series as interactive as possible and get you guys involved. Now, Toronto and Tampa. Those first 2 games are going to Tuukka Rask. We'll give Malcolm Subban the New York Rangers. So we're going to sim this right here. We'll do this one live. We lose our first game 3-1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we lose 2-1 to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So only 2 goals in our first couple of games, and to be honest, that's the same thing that happened last time. That is the same exact start, the same exact record, nearly the same exact scores as last time. It's just brutal. I don't have a good feeling about this. You know what, we'll sim this New York too. We'll do this first week or so live. We do get an overtime win in New York. Let's give Subban the next start as well against the Arizona Coyotes. So a 1-1-1 record, and we get another win, this time a 1-0 again. So back-to-back shutouts now for Malcolm Subban. And you know what, we'll give him 3 straight starts. We're going to roll with the hot hand. Tuukka Rask could very easily lose his job. We get a shootout win against the San Jose Sharks. I will take care of this player morale system. Tuukka Rask will be in net for the game against Los Angeles, and we'll see if he can even attempt to steal back the winning job. He might have lost it already. Skipping a little bit ahead now at what has happened. As you can see, it's been a relatively decent month. Of course, you know, we started off, I don't know why that went backwards. We started off with the 2 losses. Subban goes on a nice little run for us. We get 2 shutouts in 3 games, or 3 shutouts in 4 games. Rask gets shelled against Colorado. We give Subban 4 straight games, actually. I'm pretty sure we gave him these 4 straight games. Honestly, I can't remember. I had a couple more mic issues because everything. This episode isn't meant to happen, but we got shut out twice in 3 games. So what we're going to do now, we're going to sim ahead until November 25th. Again, that is the big cutoff date. I'm going to sim all of these games. We'll see where we stand, and I'll give you guys a look at the stats. Again, I want to know what you guys think and what direction we should take, and hopefully people are producing. But I will be back in 1 second, and we'll see how the month of November has gone. And guys, we're cutting back a little bit early here. Take a look at what has happened so far this month. LA, it was Tuukka Rask. He gets the win. An overtime loss. He started that on the island too, or no longer in the island in Brooklyn. Then we rode Malcolm Subban for 5 straight games. He was 5-0. He wins all 3. Montreal, Dallas, Anaheim, Philly, and Pittsburgh. Rask gets the start against Philly and Buffalo, wins both of those. We're going to keep Rask in against the St. Louis Blues, but this team is gelling. We'll probably lose this game now that I said that. We do win 2-1, so we'll sim up now. Actually, no, we'll stop it here. We'll save that Pittsburgh game and say that is Thanksgiving Day. So as you can see, we are 15-4-2, a hell of a lot better than we were the first time out. So I am feeling just a little bit fortunate. As you can see, 90 offense now, 93 defense, 93 goaltending. Malcolm Subban feeling really good about how he's doing, and he deserves to, and you'll see that once I show you his stats. But as you can see, 84 locker room chemistry right now, and guys, this team is looking really good. Radim Vrbata's leading us in points. We'll take a look though first at the goaltenders, as we always do. 10 games for Rask, a 208 goals against, and a 930 save percentage. That's good enough to compete for the Vezina alone, but then Malcolm Subban, 86 overall, 15 games, a 177 goals against, and a 944 save percentage. He has to be the leading candidate for the Vezina Trophy right now, an 11-3-0 record. Rask only 4-1. I am not sure why, because Subban hasn't been pulled. He has started 10 games, so that's a little bit weird, and obviously he hasn't been pulled with his game, so that's a little bit odd. I'm not sure what's up with that, but as you can see, a shutout for Rask, 4 shutouts from Malcolm Subban already. What the hell do we do with the goaltending? I'm going to assume most of you will kind of agree with what I'm thinking. We keep both of them. We just keep both of them, and we keep it with the platoon, with the tandem. We really have no choice. They have both been absolutely incredible for us so far this season. There's absolutely no reason to get rid of either of them. Corey Schneider actually has Subban beat, 167 goals against compared to Subban's 177. So Corey Schneider is having an amazing season thus far, although Malcolm Subban does have a better record. But Subban is rivaling 90 overall Corey Schneider, who has Tyler Johnson and Sidney Crosby as his top 2 centers. That's absolutely insane what he is doing for us right now. Top save percentage is Corey Schneider as well, but Malcolm Subban's right there. So Subban is rivaling, I can't speak, Corey Schneider for the Vezina Trophy. We have to keep the platoon, but again, remember, he's only on a year contract. We signed him for a year. That decision's coming up. We are not going to be able to afford both of these goaltenders. What should we do? Should we ride it into the playoffs and trade Rask, I don't know, at draft day? Should we trade him at draft day and then have the money to sign Malcolm Subban to that big new contract? Let me know what we should do. But right now, Malcolm Subban is a Vezina candidate, and that is absolutely amazing. In the AHL, Ludovic Weber is going to be ready to be the backup for whenever we decide to trade either Subban or Rask. I got a feeling most people are going to say Rask at this rate, although the popular vote was Subban. 207 goals against and a .926 save percentage for Weber. He is lighting it up in Providence despite the somewhat subpar record. So we're in a really good spot with our goaltenders. Defensemen, it's looking pretty good. Not in terms of points. In terms of points, it's a little bit weak. In the prior sim, Torrey Krug had more points than this, but as you can see, he's an 88 overall. And what I'm happy about, Travis Hamonick's up to an 86, and I think he's the last one with growth. Nobody is a minus player. That's amazing for us. Of course, we have Hedman and Krug on the same line. Hamonic is playing with, I believe, Demers. It might be Morrow. But regardless, nobody is a minus player. Even Jason Demers is a plus, which is amazing considering how shit he was last season. And in the AHL, we do have people ready. Point-wise, it's not there. Providence is struggling, but Brendan Carlo is going to be ready really soon. A 76 at 20 years old. Jared Hauff, a 75 at 22. He started at like a 67 overall a season ago. Linus Arneson's up to an 82. Colin Miller's still a 77. Lozon's a 75, now with elite potential, and Michael Wickstrand is at a 79. So we are stacked in terms of depth. It's just a matter of what the hell are we going to do. Obviously, with the defensive core, it's probably best to keep it. We could maybe trade Jason Demers or trade a defenseman to try and get Arneson into the lineup. Let me know what you guys think there. But obviously, it's really strong, a really strong defensive core. Radim Vrbata, 18 points in 21 games. He is lighting it up despite being 36 years old. Seth Griffith, I had a feeling. He has bounced back to an 84 overall. 13 points in 21 games is pretty strong. David Pasternak struggling a little bit. 8 points in 21 games, but he's up to an 84 overall as well. Again, I will show you the lines before ending this episode so you can see where people are and maybe how we should move them around. But in the AHL, Hosang, 77. He's doing all right. Ferlin, a 76. Randall is 79. Jeff Polov's a 77. Senshin up to a 73. We are just ripe with depth in every single position. We're going to keep running into these problems with who do we keep and who stay, or who do we keep and who do we get rid of. Brad Marchand, 13 points in 21 games. Bodker struggling again, 8 points in 21, same as Josh Bailey. And Matt Nieto really struggling though, 3 points in 21 games. On the centers, we won't take a look at the AHL for now. Bergeron, 15 points. Chaput, 14. Zarnik and Coco with 11 apiece. And Brian Boyle at 6. But as you can see, Kokochev up to an 84. Zarnik still at an 83. So again, do we keep one of them? Do we get rid of the other? What exactly do we do? We have a lot of options. But in the meantime, it is probably best to keep this team the way it is. In terms of lineups, again, we can switch it. It's Kokochev, Bergeron, and Vrbata on the top line. Kokochev has 11 points thus far. Michael Bodker, only has 8. Austin Zarnik has 11. Pasternak has not that many, surprisingly, which is weird because you have 2 playmakers and a sniper. Bodker really should be rolling. He's been a disappointment so far. But how should we mix up these lines? You guys have seen the point totals. You see what the lines are looking like. I'll show you the defensive lines as well. That's what we're rolling with, guys. The questions are out there to you. Let me know, and I'll put up the next episode as soon as possible. If you've enjoyed this, leave a like down below. That would help a lot. Subscribe if you've really enjoyed. Of course, there is a ton of content coming up onto my channel. If you have any suggestions, of course, mainly I am an NHL YouTuber. For the meantime, I do love FIFA, but the FIFA GM mode videos weren't doing as well, and I am trying to get back with the tutorials. They just take a while, and I'm on a bit of a down spell in terms of enjoying EASHL. But again, share with your friends, and I will see you all next time.